Who is this guy? The Mafia boss blood boiled in jealousy when he saw his assistant having a date. The narrative opens with Freeman Marsh, the boss whose power is derived from his glacial control, walking into a high-end, discreet establishment for a final, crucial meeting. His focus is instantly ripped away. He sees Lynn Jones, his elegant, untouchable assistant, across the room at an intimate table. She is wearing clothes that soften her professional edges, radiating a light he has never seen in his office. Beside her is Daniel, her crush, an imposing, confident man whose casual touch on Lynn's arm sends a violent rush of possessive fury through Freeman Marsh. Freeman's blood boils as he freezes in his tracks, demanding internally, "Who is this guy? Why is she smiling like that for him?" The moment establishes the immediate threat, not just to Freeman's control, but to the dangerous, undeniable feelings he has for his assistant. Freeman did not pause to think, the rush of adrenaline too sharp, his focus fixed only on the disruption. He walked directly toward Lynn's table, his presence an immediate, heavy silence falling over the corner of the room. He didn't look at Lynn, fixing his cold stare entirely on Daniel, the guy who dared to touch what was Freeman's. "Daniel." Freeman Marsh's voice was low, formal, and lethal. "A pleasure I didn't anticipate." He didn't offer a hand. He turned his attention to Lynn, his eyes flashing danger. "Lynn, you should have informed me of this engagement. Any meeting involving my executive assistant with high-profile figures outside of office hours is a necessary security measure for the organization." It was a lie, a thin veneer of authority over raw jealousy. Daniel rose, meeting Freeman's gaze with unnerving calm. "The date is personal, boss. No security risk here. Everything near her is my business," Freeman returned, his tone absolute. He looked at Lynn, whose face was pale but whose spine was rigid. "The date is over, Lynn. Now." Lynn held his gaze for a long, defiant moment, acknowledging the demand but not his authority over her private time. She then turned to Daniel, offering a quiet, independent apology. Without another word, she gathered her coat and walked past Freeman, asserting her decision even as she followed his command. Freeman gave Daniel a final, chilling look, a promise of retribution, before falling into step behind his assistant. The office the next morning was a tomb of glass and polished steel, suffocating under a thick, poisonous silence. Lynn arrived punctually, her face a mask of professional neutrality, but her hands were clammy, a subtle panic curling in her gut over the possibility of losing her job. Freeman, however, treated her as a phantom. He passed her desk without acknowledgement, the air around him crackling with a cold, contained fury more terrifying than any shouted command. Locked in his private office, Freeman stared at the cityscape, his mind consumed not by business, but by the image of Daniel's confident smile. The guy's calm was an insult, a direct challenge to Freeman's absolute control. He needed to find the flaw, the fissure, and he needed it yesterday. Freeman made the call, his voice a low, lethal rasp into the secure line. "Antonio, drop everything. I need a deep, aggressive workup on Daniel. Every financial transaction, every personal connection, every weakness you can find. I want it on my desk by sunset. Don't stop digging until you find the hole I can push him into." He hung up, the line dead, his cold rage turning to obsessive focus. The capo was hunting. Freeman's voice, devoid of any warmth, sliced through the quiet of his office. "Sit down, Lynn." He remained standing behind his massive desk, his body a fortress of tailored cloth and contained menace. "We need to discuss your judgment regarding security protocol." He leaned forward, bracing his fists on the polished wood. "Your date last night with Daniel was a serious breach of discretion. Your association with a guy requires you to vet your personal contacts to ensure no information is compromised. That is your primary function." Lynn met his gaze, refusing to flinch. She knew the pretense was fragile, but the cold logic of his position was suffocating. With respect, Freeman Marsh, Daniel is a CEO, not a rival. He is clean. You know that from the dossier your men have already compiled. His jaw tightened, the nerve jumping in his cheek. You misunderstand your role. Everything you touch is sensitive. Everything you do reflects on the organization. No, Lynn finally snapped, her voice low and dangerous, forcing him to listen. You are lying. You are not worried about security, Freeman. Your blood simply boiled with jealousy. Admit it. Her accusation hung in the air like a pulled pin, revealing the terrifying, raw truth beneath his control. Freeman didn't move, but the sudden tremor in his powerful hand was her only answer. The confidential report from Antonio arrived precisely at sunset, but it offered no comfort, only fuel for Freeman's escalating fury. The file on Daniel was pristine. No debts, no grudges, no exploitable vices, just wealth, influence, and a clean slate. The guy rage was frustrated by its lack of a target. The boss was untouchable. Later that evening, standing in the shadows of the executive wing, Freeman overheard Lynn on a quick, hushed call. Her voice was low, laced with a vulnerability he rarely glimpsed. Yes, I'll see him again. It was safe. He's safe. She sighed softly, the sound twisting the knife in Freeman's gut. I need safe, Chloe. I need to be away from the darkness. He's the complete opposite of what I'm used to. She hung up, oblivious to the fact that Freeman had understood every word. She wasn't dating for love, she was dating for escape. Daniel wasn't a rival to his power, but a lethal threat to Freeman's sole claim on her, representing a path to a clean life away from the guy. The realization sent a cold, violent wave of possessiveness through him. If she wanted to be safe, he would show her exactly how dangerous he could be when threatened. The report had given Daniel no target, only clarity. Lynn was seeing Daniel again tonight. The boss' safety made him a more insidious threat than any rival guy. Daniel knew he should stay away, let the pathetic attempts at a normal life run their course, but the memory of Lynn saying she needed to escape his darkness was a poison in his veins. He couldn't endure the thought of her choosing safety over him. He tracked them to a high-rise bar overlooking the city, a place of clean lines and transparent glass, the opposite of his guarded, shadowed world. Freeman felt the chaotic emotion of it, the raw, desperate possessiveness, erupting inside him. In the car, his lieutenant, Marco, gave him a questioning glance. Boss, you want us to sweep the area first? Freeman shook his head, his gaze fixed on the glowing rectangle of the bar 17 stories up. Stay here. Wait for my call. This is mine. He slipped from the vehicle, leaving his shield of security behind. Consumed by a feeling akin to madness, he walked into the gleaming, safe world of the boss, intending to tear it apart. Freeman didn't even offer a greeting. He simply appeared at their table in the high-rise bar, his enormous frame blocking the city view. Get up, Lynn. We're leaving. Now. The order was brutal, laced with the same possessive malice he used when addressing a traitor. Daniel finally broke his composed silence, rising slowly. This is harassment, Freeman. She is not on the clock. Freeman ignored him completely, his eyes locked on Lynn. He saw the flash of humiliation, followed by a terrifying, cold resolve. Stop treating me like a possession, boss, she whispered, grabbing his arm and hauling him toward a discreet exit that led to a small, secluded balcony. Once outside, she shoved him against the railing. Why are you doing this? Tell me the truth, she demanded, her voice shaking but firm. Freeman's facade finally crumbled. The contained CEO dissolved into a desperate man. He gripped the railing so tightly his knuckles bleached white. It's not jealousy, he choked out, the word tasting like ash. It's terror, Lynn. The idea of you choosing that safe, normal world without me. The thought of you finally escaping my darkness. I can't handle it. His confession hung in the cold night air, a raw admission of his greatest fear. Daniel stepped onto the balcony, his calm gaze contrasting sharply with Freeman Marsh's desperate, volatile posture. The CEO immediately tensed, ready to renew the confrontation, but the boss held up a hand. "Save the drama, Freeman. I'm not here for a fight, and I'm certainly not a rival for her heart," Daniel said, looking pointedly at Lynn. She was perfectly clear about this arrangement. She's an admirable woman, but she's running from something, not running toward me. Lynn inhaled sharply, unable to meet Freeman's eyes. Daniel continued, speaking directly to Freeman. "She wasn't looking for a man. She was looking for an escape from you and the life you represent. She needed something quiet, something safe enough to help her forget the dangerous, complicated feelings she clearly has for you." The air went dead silent. Freeman felt the final, crushing blow, a truth far worse than any threat to his power. Lynn hadn't been choosing Daniel. She had been trying to find a safe way to finally forget him. The reality struck him with the force of a bullet. She was trying to heal from the pain of loving the CEO. Freeman Marsh watched Daniel walk away, the truth of Lynn's desperation hanging heavy between them. He was no longer furious. He was stunned by the depth of her silent sacrifice. He realized the jealousy wasn't the core issue, his fear was. He turned back to Lynn, his hands finding her shoulders, his powerful grip gentler than she expected. "He's gone." His voice was rough. "And we are done with this pretense." He looked into her eyes, dropping every last piece of the CEO facade. "You don't get to try and forget me, Lynn." His voice was a promise, a soft, profound order. "Don't do that again. Don't try to forget me." He didn't demand a word, simply placed a possessive kiss on her forehead and led her out of the bar. They drove in silence to her apartment. Inside, Freeman didn't follow her. He reached into his coat and produced a small, unmarked fob. It was a private security key, access to his most secure inner sanctum, a place only his most trusted men ever saw. He pressed it into her hand. "This is yours. My home is your home. My life is yours. You stop running now." Months had passed, the memory of the high-rise bar and the terror in Freeman's voice now a profound, shared turning point. Their relationship, forged in fire and control, was intense and utterly defined by an unspoken mutual respect. Lynn moved with confidence through Freeman's secure private residence, the special security fob now a familiar weight in her pocket. He watched her now, standing at the kitchen counter, the morning sun catching the white-silver strands of her hair as she made their coffee. She had slipped into his life without fanfare, establishing order and light in his shadowed home, exactly as she had in his office. He had fought the invasion tooth and nail, fearing the loss of his absolute control. But as she turned, holding out his preferred black mug, he realized the truth. He hadn't lost control. He had simply found the right thing to hold on to. He stepped toward her, taking the mug, then drawing her close. She rested her head against his chest, relaxing completely. He confirmed their bond with a soft finality. He was still the CEO, but more importantly, he was her partner, her home, her choice, and she was his always. If you made it to the end of the story, you felt that jealousy burn. You felt the CEO's fear, and you understood the risk Lynn took trying to escape his darkness. This story is more than just romance. It's about control, power, and finding your home in the most dangerous of places. We need your help to spread this fire. Hit that like button if you believe passion is worth the risk. Comment below and tell us which chapter made your heart race the most, and from where in the world you're watching this dangerous love story unfold. And please subscribe to this channel. Subscribe and watch as the algorithm pushes this story to every heart searching for a thrilling, possessive romance. May you find the courage to hold onto what's truly yours, and may you be blessed with the kind of viral momentum that makes the world pay attention. Let's make this story viral.